Dzień dobry, nazywam się Katarzyna Czarnota i witam Państwa w podcaście Migracje.info. Publikujemy, jak zawsze, na kanałach Helsińskiej Fundacji Praw Człowieka. Ten podcast tworzymy z myślą o wszystkich, których interesują prawa człowieka, migracje, pomoc humanitarna i to, co dzieje się na granicach. Także tych mniej widocznych. Naszym celem jest poszerzanie wiedzy, budowanie wrażliwości i docieranie z głosem ekspertów, badaczek, aktywistek i praktyków do tych, którzy chcą rozumieć więcej. W nowej serii rozmów wciąż pozostajemy przy temacie kryminalizacji migracji i niesienia pomocy humanitarnej, zjawisk, które mimo swojej obecności wciąż bywają marginalizowane lub niezrozumiane w debacie publicznej. Dziękujemy za Wasze ogromne zainteresowanie. Zapraszamy do słuchania i dzielenia się tymi rozmowami dalej. Today our guests on the podcast are Rocio Flores and Tomasz Bauer. Rocio Flores is the chair of the Latin American Workers Committee in Poland and the migration coordinator in Workers Initiative Trade Union, Inicjatywa Pracownicza. She also works at the Nomada Association as a specialist for labor exploitation and human trafficking prevention team. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. And our next guest is Tomasz Bauer. He works at the Nomada Association as a community expert, and he also coordinates the labor exploitation prevention team. Hello.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Also, thank you for your time. So today's episode is a special one. For the first time, we are recording the podcast in English, and we are doing it together with the Nomada Association. Today, we continue the conversation from our previous episode, where we talked about the working conditions and the legal situation of migrants in the Polish labor market. But in this episode, we want to look more closely at the everyday experiences of migrant workers, the challenges they face, the risks they encounter, and the support networks that they build, and they help them defend their rights. So that's why today our guest is Rocio. And Rocio, once again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for joining the podcast. I think today we can use the same mainly to listen to you as someone who works in Poland, but also helps other workers understand and defend their rights. So before we start, it is also important to mention that the project that Nomada has been working on together with Rocio, it's, let's say, really pioneering. And for the past year and a half, the Nomada Association has been conducting research on the working and living conditions of migrant workers with irregular residence status and or with the irregular employment. So the research was a part of Dignity firm project founded by the European Commission and coordinated by association called PICUM, and the project was carried simultaneously in Spain, the Netherlands, and Poland. The research followed a participatory action research methodology, which means that migrant workers were not only participants in the research, but also active contributors to the process. So they help shape the research questions, identify the most important problems, and develop recommendations based on their own experiences. As a part of the project, Nomada work on mapping migrant community leaders and creating an expert group, organizing trainings for migrant workers about their rights and the Polish legal system, advocating for the rights of migrant workers, and supporting efforts to promote unionization. So, which is really important. All that have been done together as a part of collaborative work. So today's conversation is also a chance to reflect on the findings of this work and better understand the realities faced by migrant workers in Poland. So I have a first question for our conversation. To start, could you tell us about the situation of workers in Colombia and Poland? And what kind of risks or difficulties do you and do people most often face?
Yes, of course. Many workers from Colombia, but not only from Colombia, but from other countries from Latin America, and of course from everywhere, not only Latin Americans. But I want to mention in this case the Colombians one, because it's the most important community from Latin America is here. They come to Poland with the hope to have a stable jobs and better opportunities, but once they arrive, they often face a system that is very difficult to understand. The language barrier, of course, is a huge. The most people depend completely on job agencies or employers to navigate with the contracts and housing and documents. Because this dependency, workers are very vulnerable. We often see problems like scam job offers, unpaid wage, sudden changes in work condition, or pressure to accept worse conditions. Some workers also have fear to reporting these problems because they worry this could affect their resident status or their future employment here in Poland. So the main issue is not only the working conditions themselves, because we have, of course, a huge problem there, but the imbalance of the power. Migrant workers arrive with very little information, with very little protection, and that creates a condition where abuse can happen.
I think that this chain of, let's say, events and really huge risk of being exploited, it starts, let's say, even in Mexico, because many migrant workers come to Poland through the recruitment agencies. And I would like to ask you, how do these agencies usually operate? And what are the biggest problems you see in terms of abuse and violations of workers' rights there?
Okay, I was talking about how is the process with the recruitment from Colombia. In this case, the case is what we have the most. They usually see these job offers through Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups, even influencers that are here. They are doing these videos, inviting people from Colombia to come here. Usually these offers promise a lot of money, more than 10,000 sometimes, with a better conditions of in accommodations, even sometimes even food, transportation, even flight tickets. They even offer the full package. Yes, the people try to get the money, try to ask for money to the bank or something like this, and they come to here with these promises. Once they get here, in the worst of the cases, the offer is a completely a scam. They block it as soon as they arrive Warsaw or Spain or something, and they have to deal with the situation. They have to immediately try to get another job or maybe return sometime in some cases. But in the other cases, well, they arrive to this agency accommodation and they have to stay there for 2 or 3 months. I'm sorry, for 2 or 3 weeks, even more, without payment. They have to pay this accommodation since the beginning. So this is how it usually works, the recruitment from there. They have to accept any condition because they don't have where to live. They don't have any place to go. So even if you have to stay in this accommodation for 4 weeks with 40, 50 people in one or 2 rooms, I don't know, sometimes it happens, with 1 bathroom, for example, or 1 kitchen only, they have to accept it because they don't have any other options.
I just want to add to this. For example, it's happened many times like this. For example, someone is recruited in Colombia and meet with a person who is a recruiter. And after that, have information. When you arrive to Poland, just call this person. And in this moment, okay, some person arrived, or just you never see this person again. You never see again person from Colombia.
Yeah.
The contact is finished. You are in a foreign country. You have to call to someone. Someone take you to one place, and after again, contact is finished. And actually, you don't have any contact with people through whom you arrive to Poland. That's why it's also this dependency that you are in foreign country, many times like put to the peripheries of villages, and nowhere to go, nowhere to talk with, and actually no any option to choose.
Mm-hmm. And do those agencies also operate in Poland?
Yes, the most of them operate in Poland, but not the recruiters. The recruiters are also here, but also in the origin country. They hired like as a freelancers recruiters to look for the people. Yes, they ask for 100, 200, 300 people. So yes, they know they are here. They just look for freelancers to get the people.
And also, it's actually you don't know what kind of connection is between a recruiter from Colombia and working agency in Poland. You don't know how it's happened that you are came to this agency or not to another. And this link is totally deleted.
So from what you are saying, it seems like a large mechanism of exploiting people, and also really huge gap in the context of accountability and responsibility for the violations of rights, and also for kind of situation where person is fully dependent on the recruiter or of the fake, let's say, working agency. And from your experience, where is the legal support most needed in those cases? And at what moment do migrant workers usually realize that they need a lawyer or legal help?
Well, in many cases, workers look for legal help only when the situation has already become very serious, right? For example, when they don't have the wage, the wage have not been paid for months, when the contract ends suddenly, or when there is a problem with their residence, right, documents. So the reality is that the legal support is needed much earlier, of course. Many problems start because misunderstandings about the contracts, responsibilities, or even their rights. So if WorkX has access to clear all this information from the beginning, many conflicts could be prevented. Many, but not all of them, of course. That's why community organizations, unions, and associations, all of these worker networks are very important, because often the first step is not a lawyer. It's only simply someone who can explain the system and help workers understand their rights, right? Yeah. But yes, I think is the most important, the first contact with the workers.
And also it's happened because of this, that many times is the situation that, for example, the person arrived and have a first meeting in the office of working agency, and they sign contract. A part of this, that contract is very often just in Polish. They don't understand actually what they sign, but they don't know what's happened after with this contract. So if from their perspective, everything is regular. This contract should be submitted to the system by employer. Even more, that employers take money for their lawyers to start a work permission procedure and to start residency procedure. And for example, when people are in 3 months or 90 days pre-visa stay in Poland, and for all the time they think that their procedure is already started, many times they realize it too late. Some of them, they realize before that something is going wrong. Even it's more difficult for them to trace it, because all correspondence with the office is through the address of employer. And sometimes employer didn't inform people that they should that they have appointment in the office. So, as Rocio said, many times people come already that they're out of the 90-day residency stay, free visa. So actually it's too late to start something, yeah?
So in the context of legal support, if you can tell where is the most needed from your perspective?
I think the first good will be the legalization processes. Okay, the residence process, because many people doesn't know how to do it. They don't even know how to trace their cases. So they are completely dependent from the job agencies. I think is the most important, and and of course is the most question that we have in our social media. What can I do? How can I do it? They don't know how to transfer a case from one from one boyship to another one, and they don't know that if they don't update their information, they can lose their process. Actually, I think the first it's that one. Of course, the second and the more also is help with the unpaid wage, but actually we are starting to do something in the labor union. We are trying to create these letters to negotiate the first request with the agency. It worked. We made it like 2 or 3 times, and it's working. So maybe that one will be the second one, all related to the labor rights.
And for example, it's a bit a part of law, but I think it's very important to reach the people and inform them. For example, how they can check if they are in ZUS. For example, they can check it on website, or they can go to first clinic and try to register in this clinic, because this is kind of sign that if they are in the system or if they are out of the system. Many times people realize that they are out of the system after accident. Then they don't have any insurance, and in this time, many times the employer quickly try to organize something, not to make like kind of big problems for themselves. But if Promom is not exactly legal, but with this like how to check if they are in this administration system or not, it could be very important for them.
Yes, indeed. I think that access to the healthcare and what you said about the incidents at workplace, this is the moment that usually some situations are, let's say, visible for both sides. Another issue we hear about a lot is a housing and residence permit. You already talk about it, but I would like to ask about problems around accommodation, documents, and legalization of stay, how they affected migrant workers who already were able to reach Poland, stay here for a couple of weeks, and then the dishonest employers just disappeared.
Yes, I think everything is related to one thing to another. So, yes, migrant workers, housing and residence permits are often directly connected with employment. This means that if they lost their jobs, it can immediately affect where they live and whether you can stay in a regular situation in this country. This, of course, creates a lot of pressure. Workers may tolerate very difficult conditions, very precarious, of course, conditions as well, because they are afraid to lose their work permits or their job immediately. So the bureaucratic process here for residence permits can also take a very long time, sometimes many months or even years. Like me, I've been waiting for 2 years for my resident card. So during this time, people living uncertain, they are working, paying taxes, of course, contributing to the economy, but their legal situation can remain unstable. So this is harder for workers to defend their rights. Yet they cannot do anything for that. It's very important because many people doesn't know that even are working in irregular conditions. Yes, because they have, as Tomek mentioned, they probably signed something, a contract, umowa zlecenia, of course, for the most of the cases. They sign this contract, but they don't even know that they need a work permit. They don't even know. So it's very important to know that if you don't have work permit, your contract doesn't mean anything. So it's very important that people know everything about this, because again, the dependency of these agencies brings all the condition for this situation. So it's very important to know.
Also, when I think about accommodation and work and residency, it's especially hard situation for pregnant women with a late pregnancy or newly born children. Because the situation is actually the situation it can remind me in the 19th century. What is the kind of cause for women if she got pregnant? For example, first she lose job. If she lose job, she lose accommodation connected to this job. If she lose accommodation, she lose residency, and she have no insurance. So how she can give the birth? Of course, our hospital is obliged to receive a person who give a birth, but after you have to pay a lot for this. So this is the situation kind of for me. Really, this is kind of 19th century situation, which are kind of women are kind of persecuted, blamed for being pregnant.
Yes, I want to mention something about this. We have a few cases of pregnant women, and in some cases they have to hide that they are actually pregnant, because if they notice, they immediately going to be fired immediately. And of course, all the situation. It's sad because at this moment what can they do? It's return to their countries. So there is not only any other option. We try to reach some association who help pregnant women, but they say not for migrants. We cannot give this help. So it's very hard to manage this situation right now.
Yes, but somehow you managed to organize. After this is the first, let's say, example of the real, let's say, bottom-up organization, the real example of the worker union, part of the movement of the Inicjatywa Pracownicza. And I think that it's really important. And finally, looking at the bigger picture from your perspective, what changes are most needed in a migration policy and labor law in Poland to better protect migrant workers? So in other words, what kind of demands you already have as a labor union and also as a Nomada association?
We have been working in these demands, I think, the last 6 months, I think, when we have a meeting with the parliament, also with Magdalena Biejat. We talk about this. I mean, there is a lot of things to do, but I think we need to fight from the top. Right now, I think the most important is warranty the victims when they report, of course, because right now, if someone wants to make a report to the labor inspection, the labor inspection has it is obligated to report the situation from the migrant. So usually they report to the border guard, and the border guard just get the deportation. So for the first and most important is that one. Also, we are trying to negotiate or give this idea, like in Spain. In Spain, you got a work permit and you have it for 1 year, and you can change from between work to another job. until you find the better for you. In this case, for the condition that we have in this moment in Poland, we need a work permit every time you change your job. So that's why it's very complicated. I think this is the most too important if we want to attack the roof. But also, of course, we need more information about the rights to the work directly to the workers. Many abuses happen simply because the people doesn't know what protection they have. Also, the system of the job agencies need a stronger oversight and not accountability, as you said. Agencies should not be able to control so many aspects of the workers' lives at the same time. I think is the most important. If you want to mention something, Tomek.
Okay, so I think I would add a few things. I think one of the most important is to change the law in Poland, which it said that if someone works in a irregular way, without knowing this and willing to do this person had to leave the country. And this is first block for these people for informing inspection, labor inspection, as CSM, because labor inspection inform border guards. It should be separated informing. And another, if the state think about like mass inspection of working agencies, and we hope that it will happen, but it cannot happen without guarantee for actually victims of working agencies to be able to enter the system again. So this is the one thing. Without this, we don't resolve it. We just actually without this, we don't protect people. We just push to these people to live even in worse situation because with no any income, without accommodation, they will just stay on the street. And another thing is also connected with this was what Rocio said, is waiting time and complicated procedure for work permit. For example, if someone it's not just this that someone have no time to search for another employers, because working like 6 days per week and 12 hours per day is very difficult to do this. But another thing, if any new employer would like to employ this person, have to wait for another like few months, up to 7-9 months now. So it's not possible. The people are changed to working agencies. And the same, what Rocio said before, is long term to wait for full residency status. And people are kind of like the most worry for the people is to lose the job, because losing the job is losing the procedure. Another important thing is, for me, I cannot understand it, why it is like this, because it's totally unhuman. Just, for example, you can have your residency procedure for 1 year or something, and you have one appointment in the office, and or because you are not informed, because you changed the address, or for another reason, you couldn't come for this appointment. And in this moment, you lose your procedure. And it could be even because people also leave their phones. What is the problem to call to this person and check why you didn't come for the meeting? It's like, it's not like a big war, because many times it's said that there is not enough workers in migrants offices. Yes, it's true. But some work is really not like a huge thing to do to inform the person that you have now your appointment and ask why you didn't appear for the appointment.
So it looks like the current administrative system, it's full of barriers, and it's not, let's say, treating migrant workers in a human way. Also excluding from the protection, from the access to the healthcare system, from the housing market. And I think the issue of exploitation in the labor market is one of the most urgent problems when it comes to violations of workers' rights and of human rights in Poland. And first of all, I would like to thank you very much for taking part in this conversation, because hopefully we were able to unpack, let's say, the situation from for our listeners. And we hope this discussion helped shed some light on how these mechanisms work and why it is so important to talk about them openly. I would like to also encourage all our listeners to get actively involved and support Nomada, as well as the trade union Inicjatywa Pracownicza that work to protect workers and migrants, and your attention, solidarity, and also, let's say, the straight engagement really matters. So. And the last thing, I would like to also invite our listeners to read your latest report, which will be available soon on Nomada website. And I just want to ask you about some details about the report. That report was conducted using the methodology of action research. So maybe you can give a little bit more details to the listeners. Where can we found the report?
The report is still not published because it will be published in this month. And now we just finished to translate it into Polish, but I think in March it will be accessible in our webpage of Nomada. And I don't know, maybe also on the page of trade union. This is question to Rocio.
Yes, of course. It will be. Well, actually, we're going to prepare a presentation with all the details about this report. But basically, it's all about. We already talk here in more detail, because we find, especially because we work only with the food area. Yes. Talking about with Latin American, not only Latin Americans, but also other migrants like Turkey, like Ukrainian, and some others. So we find that we have we face actually the same situations, the same situation. Everything is the same. So we try to gather all the stories about how are the conditions, how they work, how they have been treated by their employers. So we find the same situation in everything. So at the end, we in the second phase of the project, we gathered the leaders of this project, the participants of this project, and we made a lot of things. I think we made workshops online to inform the other people about their rights, about the taxes, about how to check what Tomek mentioned before, how to check the insurance, or if you are paying your contribution in the proper way. We made all these workshops. We're also going to this Friday. We're going to a closer community here in Lower Silesia, and we're going to keep these maybe one or two workshops of this from these action groups. And I think, I don't know if you want to add something about Tomek.
I just want to also what I would like to add first, that yes, it's mostly this what we are told here. But it's much deeper. It's much deeper because it's like you can feel from the report really experience of the people. It was done from registration of meeting of focus groups. So it's also a lot of quotations, and these quotations are really hard. And so I think when I read this report, what I feel is not just statistics. It's just really feeling of the living of the people, and also we try to create the picture of dependency. Because what's the problem is this also, it's regarding Polish law and the definition of human traffic, that working agency can avoid human traffic, a definition, this narrow definition, but which when we include misleading informations and using of benefiting from vulnerability of someone, this creates kind of a system of vulnerability, from accommodation, for residency, for taxes, insurance, everything. So we try to show it in this report. And as Rocio said, in this second stage of the project, when we start to introduce the actions which were kind of recommended by people who are participating in this research, we got really broader view of problems and better contact with communities. And one of the output of this project is a new idea. It's a Migrant Workers Club, and we start to work with people not just with Colombians, but also with Turkey, Indonesia, which are willing to create another trade union. So its history just start now, and we hope that not actually with this report, but with all this 1.5 year of working, we can start something new in Poland. And what's also important for us, that's why what Rocio said, we go to the small town, small gmina near Wrocław, Prusice, where it's more than half of the population now living there are Colombians or Latinos. And we want to talk with migrants, not just go to people from authorities, not just go to offices, but we wanted also they can hear about their lives and continue discussion and collecting recommendation for further projects. Now it's the idea to base our future projects just on the accommodation of migrants.
So it looks like the report is, let's say, it will be the useful tool for social change. And also it's a part of documentation of violations and testimonies. And I think that is really important, let's say, diagnostic tool of the scale of the exploitation and the forms of exploitation. So yes, I mean, I'm looking for the report, and hopefully it will be really powerful tool to actually do the social change in that regard and in that matter. And hopefully we will continue the discussion. So thanks a lot again for your time and for your energy. And yes, I think that see you soon. Our guests today were Rocio Flores from Inicjatywa Pracownicza and Nomada Association and Tomasz Bauer, Nomada Association. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also to our listeners for staying with us. We invite you to follow our podcast and share it with the other people, because the conversation about the exploitation of migrants in the labor market in Poland is only just the beginning. Even though this phenomenon has been going on for more than a decade, and recruitment agencies started expanding around 2015, there is still a lot to do and a lot to understand. I hope that this podcast will also be heard by workers who may need support, and that they will know where to go to fight for equal rights and not remain in a space of hidden violence. Thank you for listening and see you next time. Dziękujemy, że byliście z nami. Jeśli ten temat Was poruszył, zainspirował albo zostawił z pytaniami, zachęcamy do dzielenia się tym odcinkiem. Wasze reakcje, refleksje i wsparcie pomagają nam rozwijać ten projekt. Do usłyszenia w kolejnych rozmowach o migracjach, prawach człowieka i granicach, które warto lepiej rozumieć.